Welcome back to our coverage of a monster storm across the Midwest. Chicago's Lakeshore Drive shut down last night, but there was plenty of activity on the street this morning. Firefighters and paramedics on scene after receiving dozens of 911 calls from stranded motorists. Right now, officials say the street is clear, but crews are digging out and towing away the cars that were left behind. Very scary time there for those folks caught in a blizzard on Lakeshore Drive. Winds gusting as high as 70 miles an hour there in Chicago last night.
And the storm is now wrapping up across parts of the Northeast, and we have live team coverage from Oklahoma to New England. Day Planner rolls on.
And welcome back to Day Planner. What a historic storm for folks in the Midwest. 20 inches of snow. That's the third greatest snowfall on record there in Chicago. Many folks getting more than a foot across parts of Illinois and Missouri and down into Oklahoma and Kansas. And then the storm did underperform a little bit around the lakes and the Northeast, but we've got another storm on the way later this week. We know you don't want to hear that. So sorry.
Certainly folks don't, you know. And of course, that's not the only problem. Also, some areas had icing that shut down some major interstates. It also brought traffic to a standstill.
All right, we want to bring in Jim Cantori. He watched this storm all night last night there, and it was just incredible, Jim. Amazing wind, amazing drifts there. And how are things doing today?
Well, you know, we're getting back on our feet, Carl, just like
Welcome back. We are still following a major storm here across the Northeast that's now producing heavy snow in Maine. It is lighter snow in the wake of that, with the upper level low that's now stretching out or shearing out, as we say. Some lingering light snow through western New York down into Pittsburgh and down into Ohio. Probably a couple of inches at most in most areas. I want to talk a little bit about the storm reports that we have seen thus far. They have been really dramatic in some cases. Roof collapses being reported in some areas and extending all the way from the Midwest into the Northeast because of the heavy wet snow and a lot of wind associated with this storm. Well, the sister cities of Dallas-Fort Worth are trying to gear up for the Super Bowl, but they've got some cleaning up to do after a major snow and ice storm. NBC's Janet Shamlian joins us now to talk more about the big event that's coming up there, Janet. And, you know, people spend a lot of money on these Super Bowl tickets. They're going to want to get there, and it's not going to be easy.
Let's just say no shortage of ice for those Super Bowl parties, Carl. It is just beyond comprehension what the Dallas area is dealing with right now. You know, and the big problem now is the bitter cold temperatures, which are placing a tremendous strain on the electricity grid. So they're doing rolling blackouts throughout the city, 15 minutes at a time, except for Cowboy Stadium behind me, which of course is exempt from all that. But you're right. Love Field canceled a couple hundred flights today. People have spent big bucks to get in here. They've already prepaid for their hotel rooms. The roads are skating rinks, and they're not going to melt anytime soon because these temperatures just aren't dropping. It was close to 80 degrees a couple of days ago. Right now it's 16 degrees here in Arlington, site of the Super Bowl, a wind chill of 5. We are not going to warm up until perhaps Super Bowl Sunday. So a big problem as people try to get in. Every other flight I was looking at Southwest today between Houston and Dallas was canceled. And of course, now we're awaiting this next storm system, which is probably going to take aim at southeast Texas, a little bit south of the Dallas metro area, but another hard hit for Texas on the way. Right now, we do know the airlines are trying to get people here as quickly as they can, but it's just a difficult process considering all the ice that we have on the ground. Carl, back to you.
Oh man, just a brutal winter, and yes, you're right, another winter storm on the way for southeast Texas and Louisiana. Janet, thank you so much. Let's take a look at what's going on with our storm right now. It is moving away. You can see how the storm has really stretched out, as we mentioned earlier, right in there. You see how it's got that sort of lateral shape as opposed to being one big ball, so that's why it's losing a lot of its punch. That drier air also punching up into the storm there, so we still do have some heavier precipitation right in here, but mostly it is lingering lighter snow now. That cold air firmly in place across much of the country. There you see the snow showers extending from Chautauqua County there, western New York, Buffalo, Rochester, and then down towards Columbus and Cincinnati as well. The next storm is going to take shape in the Gulf of Mexico. It's actually now coming out of the southwest. Still a lot of cold cold air here across parts of the deep south. And as this low continues to move up between Thursday and Friday, we will watch snow possibly developing in the Houston area, as Janet mentioned. Here, some icing going on there in Louisiana and Mississippi. And as you know, we do not have a lot of equipment to handle that type of a thing. If you do get significant icing, quarter of an inch, maybe up to a half an inch, then we're talking about a pretty serious problem in terms of the amount of ice that is going to be coming down here. So there's a look at that ice forecast. You notice Louisiana up through southern parts of Mississippi. This is what the computer is calling for right now. If it does happen that way, this could become a huge story. The storm will then make its way up into the northeast and produce some snow, most likely for interior parts of the northeast come Saturday. Heather?
Well, Carl, you know, the other huge story here is that it is brutally cold, and we've got more cold air in store for us as we go into tonight. In fact, dangerous levels. Here's a look at some of our feels-like temperatures or the wind chill values. Bismarck, it is 17 below zero, so it's very cold. Minneapolis is 13 below. Duluth, your temperature right now is about 10 below. And you look at some of the temperatures that we're going to see as we go from today into tomorrow. They're going to shift slightly. Here you can see that to the south and the east. Check it out, Chicago to Kansas City. We're talking about wind chill values that are in the teens below zero, so extremely cold. In fact, we can take a look at some of the actual temperatures, and they also tell the story. Look at Denver, 5. That's it for the high today. That is 40 below average, and in Oak City, 39 below average with a high there of 10. Carl, the cold air continues Thursday into Friday. And
unfortunately, the computers are indicating that another big blast of cold is likely to come down next week, if you can believe that.
And so we're, of course, going to follow that. If you'd like more information beyond watching us here on the Weather Channel, you can also get text alerts. Text TWC breaking to 44636.
And our coverage of this monster storm is going to continue with Day Planner in just a moment. Nick and Vivian coming up next. There's a live look at Chicago. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, we hope you'll join us tomorrow.
Welcome back to Day Planners. We take a look at new video into the Weather Channel. This is what the Milwaukee airport looks like today after 19.8 inches of snow here in the last 3 days. 16 inches of that fell in just 24 hours. We are talking about a major winter storm and the aftermath. It's going to take a long, long time to dig out. Still have a lot of flights canceled around the country today. Hopefully we can get the airports back up to speed tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's going to take a while, I tell you. Welcome back to... Well, let's get you caught up on what's happening right now, what's left of our major storm. We still have a lot to talk about. The south, you're about to get in on the action here as well. An active storm track continuing across the East Coast. We'll see this through next week. We have scattered snow showers continuing here through parts of New York, right along the New York State Thruway. We're getting snow showers, Albany back into Buffalo. This isn't a heavy hitter, scattered snow. It's rather light. It's a nuisance, though. New York City, you're in the clear for now. Of course, in Boston, just recently, some freezing rain and sleet rolling through. You can see the snow showers in Maine as well, extending down through the southern Appalachians. Now, also in the Southwest, we're dealing with winter weather. This is a big deal. Phoenix, you have a hard freeze in place for tonight. This is going to rival the coldest weather you've had in about 20 years. So likely exceeding that record low tomorrow morning of 28 degrees. So plant lovers, gardeners, this is a big deal. This extends back into Palm Springs as well. I have a friend who's really into gardening around the Phoenix area. He's freaking out with this one. Tucson, you're included in that as well. That's all setting the stage for our next big storm. We have the fresh Arctic air in place, dipping all the way into the south, places like Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. The low develops as we head through the day tomorrow. This area in pink, once again, ice. That's going to be our concern. Big time problems here in areas that don't normally see this kind of icing. Even a quarter inch is going to create some problems here through eastern Texas into parts of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, Jackson, Mississippi. This will continue to stretch up into the Tennessee Valley. Rain showers for the southeast. As we head down into Florida, you're going to see all rain. But what do you know? This storm is going to track its way up the East Coast once again as we head into Saturday. So for the south, everything gets going tomorrow. tomorrow, and especially tomorrow night into Friday, and then coming into Saturday, more snow, freezing rain, ice concerns here back into New York City, up into Boston, snow showers across Maine. We'll continue to watch this one still a few days out. But Chris, can you believe the groundhog telling us it's going to be an early spring? I don't know about that.
Well, I think a lot of people want to hear that as the cleanup does continue for a good part of the country. And the governor of Oklahoma asking the White House to step in and help clean up the 20 inches of snow, ice and sleet. Governor Mary Fallin is asking for an emergency disaster declaration for all 77 Oklahoma counties. Governor Fallin joins us live on the phone right now. And thanks again for joining us, Governor Fallin.
It's my pleasure to be on with you.
And the question I have for you tonight is, what is it with this declaration are you hoping to gain from the federal government?
With the emergency declaration from our state, it will allow Oklahoma to be able to recover costs that we have.
Shall we?
All right, we're going to talk more about what happened with the storm as it blanketed much of the upper Midwest. We start with number 5. This is Eyewitness out of Wisconsin, Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, that is. And you can see this fireman kind of walking to work there. Streets in the subdivision completely covered in snow. But, you know, firemen got to get out there and do their job and help everybody out. They need to get to where they got to go.
And take a look at this, Chris. So Bill Ryan saying this one in Eyewitness. It's called snow swimming, apparently. It's the way they did the video work there, kind of a time-lapse situation, making it look like he's going for a swim.
Reading, Massachusetts, where you've got a lot of snow on the ground. Number 3, look at these vehicles just completely abandoned here. This is out of Chicago, Illinois. Lakeshore Drive, as we've been telling you about. Northbound, completely impassable. Southbound being plowed and vehicles towed.
And look at this, Chicago thunder snow. Did you see that? This is some Eyewitness video coming in here to the Weather Channel. And this is something that also Jim Cantori found himself in last night.
Really remarkable when that happens. There's Jim. As he said, he's been caught in this on air. He said your grammar goes out the window, too, when this happens. But increasing snowfall rates rapidly because you have that convective energy associated with it. So major problems underway across the Midwest. All right, we've got a big event coming up here. We want to talk about some golf, Chris, and
blizzard conditions here right now. And the hits just keep on coming.
This is incredible. Dynamic storm coming into fruition.
It's just brutal out here. Oh, my gosh. 5:29 now, 29 minutes past the hour as you look at Michigan Avenue. And you can see here in Chicago, the plows have done their job. The salt spreaders are down to pavement. But I'll tell you, the bitter cold that follows makes it pretty brutal out here. Single digits, wind chills well below 0. I'm Al Roker, live in Chicago. Blizzard conditions here right now. And the hits just keep on coming.
This is incredible. Dynamic storm coming into fruition.
It's just brutal out here.
Hello and welcome back to Day Planner.